Hey everyone, welcome to The Nostalgia Effect, the podcast where we examine movies from our childhood through the lens of adulthood. As always, I am Amy, and we got Joe and Johnny.
Hello!
Hello! And
Hello,
the reason why I sound like a really bad impression of Mrs. Doubtfire is because today we're going to celebrate the wonderful late Robin Williams because the anniversary of his passing is next week.
Oh, I thought it was just because he hadn't shown up yet.
Oh. Well,
Boo!
He would have loved that.
He would have, though.
Would he have, though? You don't know him personally. You don't know.
I don't, but...
Neither of you do.
That's true.
These guys are both phonies.
But
phonies.
I do feel like Robin Williams would enjoy a good, corny joke.
A good pun. Yep.
He would enjoy a good pun. He wouldn't enjoy a Joe pun.
No.
There's a difference.
He would like
True.
riff on that. He'd be like, "Oh yes, dear, sorry, chief, sorry." And he'd like do a thing.
I mean, yeah, that's what makes Robin Williams great.
Yeah.
But before we get into some of our favorite Robin Williams movies from our childhood and I would say teenage years, because one of the ones that you brought to the table, Death to Smoochie, that came out in 2002, so that's kind of, you were more of a teenager when that
I was
came
almost
out.
out of high
He was
school.
goddamn 30 by the time the movie came out.
It's true.
Joe
But
is
almost-
ageless.
No. I'm ageless and old are two different things.
He's timeless. He's a man without time.
But before we start talking about Robin Williams, there was a trailer that came out today
Talking
called
trailers.
The Irishman.
Is this a trailer you want to talk about, Amy?
Yes. It's directed by my personal favorite director, Martin Scorsese.
Marty.
I love you, Marty.
He's a good guy.
He's a great guy.
He's a good guy.
But
he's a close personal friend of mine.
This is the Marty who's always saying this is heavy, Doc, right?
No.
God damn it, Joe. We're going to kick you off this podcast one of these days.
But we need him.
You're going to have to learn how to use the task
Do we,
cam.
though?
Do you know how to do this?
Yes.
Do you know how to do all this audio stuff? Because I certainly don't.
I actually kind of do.
Okay.
Actually,
I've
Joe,
been teaching him.
You know,
But anyways, the reason I wanted to talk
been
about The
scheming.
Irishman,
Oh, yes,
because
Irishman.
I am a huge fan of Martin Scorsese.
Mhm, like everybody else on the
Most
planet.
everybody else.
Well, I mean, I feel like if you like film, you tend to like Scorsese.
2/3 of this room are big fans of Martin Scorsese
Way
for the
to
most
call
part.
me out, Amy. Way to call me out.
But I want to get your take on this trailer as a fan of, or as a not a fan of Martin Scorsese.
Mm-hmm.
So we all watched the trailer together.
To be fair, it's just a trailer, though. Like,
yeah, it is.
True.
I don't know.
It's
But
hard
also,
to get a
like,
sense of...
why you aren't a fan of his.
Because I'll say that the teaser, trailer, whatever we want to call it, is it's a good, I think, teaser. It certainly makes me interested. The things that I don't care for in his work are not on display in the trailer.
Right.
The stuff that I don't like about his films that I've seen is oftentimes they are sort of tone deaf. He's he'll be doing stuff. He'll have a. I think the best example is in The Departed when they're they round the corner and Martin Sheen's character has just been thrown off the building and he just like lands and there's just like he explodes in blood and I'm pretty sure we're meant to go, oh my god, but instead it's funny as hell because of the way he enters the frame and then explodes.
I disagree with you. I don't think it is funny. I do want to.
I think it's hilarious. I was the only one laughing in the theater and then I was like,
that's a problem with you.
yeah.
But I do want to ask, what Scorsese films have you seen?
right, okay, because we did talk about this.
Yes.
Because
I'm now,
you have not seen.
I'm stuck.
One of, like, literally his magnum opus.
Yeah, you have not seen Goodfellas.
I've seen The Departed.
Okay.
I've seen The Aviator.
Okay.
I've seen Bringing Out the Dead.
Okay. Admittedly, you're listing all of his not greatest films.
Yeah,
Alright,
these
alright.
are bottom of the barrel.
What else have I seen? I thought Departed was. I thought everybody liked that.
I
that
love
one
The
won a lot
Departed.
of.
I like The
That won a lot of
Departed, yeah.
awards, right?
It did win a lot of awards. I personally love The Departed, but I mean, I don't know.
It's not one of his most highly regarded films.
It might be actually. Now that if we really want to get into semantics about it,
Yeah.
it might be.
I have a box, like a Martin Scorsese box set, and the four that are in there
Yeah.
are Mean Streets, Goodfellas, The Aviator, and The Departed.
Well, but those box sets are like they're put
Yeah,
together.
it was just like a grab bag
More
of
political,
DVDs,
yeah.
pretty
Pretty much.
But I mean, but it's true. I've not seen Goodfellas.
Okay.
I've not seen Casino. That's him, right?
Yes,
Yes.
that is.
I have not seen Taxi Driver.
Oh,
That is
okay.
my favorite.
Yeah,
I
Taxi
haven't
Dri-
seen
I mean,
Raging Bull. I haven't seen King of Comedy.
You're
I
listing
haven't
off
seen...
all of his great, like all of my favorite Scorsese movies.
I mean, I hate to
You have
disagree
not
with
seen.
Amy, but she's right. In that you have not seen his...
Calm down, Amy.
quote-unquote best work. I would definitely say if I was introducing anybody to a Scorsese course, let's just say.
Yeah.
It would definitely be, Goodfellas, Raging Bull.
I could literally pull up the course schedule that I had for my Scorsese film studies class, and it... Actually, you know what? I should do that.
I forgot another one. I saw Shutter Island. I've seen Shutter Island.
Okay. Yeah.
I just... the things that I don't like, so I don't mind formalism when it comes to like filmmaking techniques. Listener, that's where the movie reminds you that you're watching a movie. So like a Tim Burton film is very formalistic.
Don't talk down to our listener. He or she is very smart.
Or they.
Right? Or they. Yes.
But
pronouns.
Anyway, so I don't mind that. But what I do mind in his work is oftentimes, like I said, there are bits that feel like they ought to be serious but are unintentionally funny. There's again, I'll just keep picking on Departed because I feel like I think he won the Academy Award for that, and that was maybe his first one.
I feel like entirely sure.
Maybe
Amy, use the Joe box.
Well, you know me and my love for the Oscars. I actually have a spreadsheet.
Yeah, I know. Pull it up. That's what I'm saying.
I'm doing that.
I'll bring it up because I know that movie like got a lot of awards that he was overdue for. That a lot of people think he was overdue for.
It's a good movie. I don't understand. I don't see how you can watch the movie and not think it's a good movie.
But that's what I'm saying is that there's this like unintentional comedy that I think undercuts the movie.
I don't know. Okay, all right.
There's like a scene with Alec Baldwin where he's like addressing everybody.
Yeah.
And the camera like races up like down the table straight at Alec Baldwin and then like arcs around him. And they use the same shot, the same camera movement like twice in a row, both times that they cut to Alec Baldwin. And I just was like, what the fuck? Did they not have another setup? Like, what is this? You know, and then there's
sounds like nitpicking.
No, but I mean, because it feels like a mistake. It feels like a sloppy first timer kind of thing. And then,
to be fair, I have not seen The Departed in a number of years.
I haven't either. So he did win Best Director for that.
And what was his first one? Was that his first Best Director?
That's his only thing he's won for.
So I remember that movie being like he was overdue.
He has 10 nominations.
Like, right.
Like over every movie, and not just him necessarily, but
but I just remember like that movie. He got a lot of praise and attention, and a lot of people felt like he was overdue for it, and he got all that recognition for this
that
movie.
Particular film.
Yeah,
right.
And so that's why I sort of pick on it.
Yeah, because he lost Best Director in '90 for Goodfellas to Kevin Costner for
Dances with Wolves. Yeah.
Goddamn Kevin Costner.
Yeah, and then there's like cuts in that movie where like music is building, and then all of a sudden it like cuts off at a really weird point in the edit, and it doesn't feel like it doesn't cut off to like go to that music being played in the car. It just stops, and it's like, well, you're in the middle of the scene. Like, it doesn't make sense to have done this, and it just kind of all of his tools for storytelling feel like mistakes to me. And that's why I don't like what I have seen. I mean, that is interesting, because when I think about like his tools for storytelling, I especially think about Goodfellas and how well told that story is. Considering, I mean, it's an adaptation of a book, but I mean, that's when I think about like Scorsese's storytelling or like Taxi Driver. Like, Taxi Driver.
It's just. It blows my mind.
Yeah. So it is interesting, but the fact that you have not seen those movies,
right? Yeah.
I'm interested. I really want you to watch them and then give me your take.
To
be fair though, I haven't seen those movies in a really long time. But like,
well, should we? I mean, I don't know if they're necessarily nostalgic movies for us, but should we do a Scorsese run?
I mean, to be fair, I watched all of Scorsese. When I was in high school.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I was still a child.
Sure.
Yeah.
I started when I was like 15.
Many of these came out before we were born.
Absolutely.
Yeah, like Goodfellas came out the
even
year...
me.
Goodfellas came out the year we were born.
Yeah, I was alive.
Yeah. But like...
I was 5 and I already knew what life was about.
There's another one that I thought
used to the coldness of life.
That I feel like... Have you seen Gangs of New York?
I love
Gangs of New York.
Oh
like Daniel Day-Lewis. Like,
so good.
You guys both know I'm like obsessed with Leonardo DiCaprio. He's like my favorite. But Daniel Day-Lewis in that movie is at his, like, not There Will Be Blood Daniel Day-Lewis, but he's pretty damn close to I Drink Your Milkshake. Like
Bill the Butcher is such a like fully realized character that he just embodies like to a point where you're just like, I mean, I've heard like tales of him being, you know, obviously he's like a method actor or whatever, and he's like that person, and that person is terrifying.
Oh my god,
Bill the Butcher is fucking scary. His name is Bill the Butcher. One, he's actually a butcher.
Yeah,
he's literally
like animal
but
preparation.
But the motherfucker is crazy in that movie.
Oh my god,
I love it so much. That movie's super long though. I will give you that.
Oh yeah, it's probably like most of Scorsese's movies are fairly long. He's like Tarantino in that aspect, where he has long movies, but they are very well executed. At least in my opinion, especially his good ones.
I do love the historical accuracy of it. Like it's got a lot of.
Well, like the 5 Points gangs in New York was really rough place.
Absolutely.
Bowery Boys.
Boss Tweed and what is it? Tammany Hall. Tammany Hall.
Yeah, that was I mean, there was
peak level of corruption.
I will say the beginning of an organized police force in New York.
Some of the accents though in that are real bad.
I don't remember that.
Like Cameron Diaz is not like.
Well, but it's Cameron Diaz. To be fair, I've never thought of Cameron Diaz as a specifically
and
actor.
Leo goes in and out of his accent, which he's known to do.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Leo is still really good.
I mean, the thing is Sarah is a huge Scorsese fan. She went to NYU.
Really?
Oh yeah,
wow,
she went to NYU, and so like Marty, you know,
of course,
like
it's Marty.
Yeah, and so like when I go off on why I don't like Scorsese, she's like, oh no, this is, and she starts to rethink the relationship. You know,
it's
the
a
whole
wedge.
Thing. It is. It's a wedge issue, as they would call it.
A wedge issue.
But all right. Well, maybe we'll do some Scorsese.
But what did you think about this trailer?
Yeah. So I thought it was an interesting trailer. I'm not 100. The effects are probably not done, but I am not 100% sold on the age.
The
de-aging.
Of what, De Niro?
It looks like, I feel like we've talked about this before.
It looks how remember how I said I was like kind of a little off about Will Smith and Gemini Man.
Yeah,
I feel the same way about De Niro at the end of this trailer.
I feel like
when they do that pan around on him. Yeah, I was like, oh, it feels very off. His face is too smooth.
Yeah, it's. I feel like this is worse than Gemini Man. Gemini Man is like middling.
Like the mole on De Niro's face that he is known for. I feel like it wasn't even there. Like it was kind of like it was like brushed out. Yeah.
Well, and I think the trouble is we all know what younger De Niro looks like, and so it doesn't really look like him.
No.
You know?
I'm interested to know, like, I mean, I guess it's because it's like a true story, like why they had to why they felt the need to de-age him.
Yeah, I think it's
well, there's bits where it looks like he's not de-aged. So I wonder if there's
I think it's like going back and forth.
When he first does
kind
his
of like,
thing, and then later
like
in his
this
life.
is a slight spoiler for Goodfellas for Joe.
Yeah.
But like Goodfellas jumps around in the timeline to Ray Liotta telling the story versus like him going back and like actually it's like kind of the way I think they do it in Wolf of Wall Street. It's been a minute since I've seen Wolf of Wall Street, but
also one I haven't seen.
God,
Joe.
I like it. It's fine. I don't think it's one
not
of his
his
better
best,
ones, but I think it's fine.
It's his most recent film
Wolf
I have
of Wall
seen.
Street, the Star Trek parody.
God damn it.
I have the only the most recent one was Wolf of Wall Street that I've seen. I haven't seen Silence.
Ooh,
it came out in 2016 with Andrew Garfield.
Silence looks so goddamn boring.
Yeah, I was like,
I don't even remember.
It was about two priests. Andrew Garfield. Who else is in it?
Liam Neeson.
Liam Neeson. Yeah.
And then there was one more. There's three people in there.
Shit.
Yeah.
Interesting fact. Scorsese was gonna be a priest before he went to film school.
Oh really?
Yep.
Interesting.
They're here.
I can see that. I can see him. Like he looks like he would be at home in the collar.
I don't know how interesting it is, but I'm gonna say it's interesting. The only reason that I even stumbled upon, because I really did stumble upon Scorsese, was my freshman year of high school. We had an assignment. I was taking a video class. It was called TV Video Intro. It was basically like using iMovie and like watching films, and shit like that.
Everybody had that.
But it was in high school.
Yeah,
this was in college.
Yeah,
it was like high school, like intro level.
Yeah. That's how I got started too.
Yeah. And that's where I started with film and all that stuff. Interesting. So the assignment was we had to look at the like AFI's list of like
top 100.
Top 100 of like something, but it wasn't like movies. It was like honoraries or like lifetime achievement awards, something like that.
Yeah.
And everybody like picked actors. You know, they'll like pick like famous actors or whatever. And I just stumbled upon. I was like, oh, Martin Scorsese, director, whatever. That's the one I chose. I chose Martin Scorsese, and I did a deep dive into like his history, like all the shit. And then that's what got me started. And I was like, I started watching his films, and I was like, holy shit.
Yeah.
Holy shit. And
I mean, this is something that we can talk about if we ever end up doing a Scorsese episode, because, I mean, I started watching him when I was in college. Like, he was my first semester of my, like, real college experience.
So drinking.
When you were partying.
Well, no. Like, when I actually, like, settled at the college that I ended up graduating from and figuring out what I wanted to do, because I spent the first 3 years.
So after she'd already burned down the first college she went to.
Yes.
She burned out of the first college. They kicked her out.
Salted the earth. And they're like, lady, that was really, like, we get the burning down, but the salting the earth part was really excessive.
They were like, lady, you need to reel it in. We're going to call your parents. This is going straight to the top.
I got kicked out, you know, all of the whole 9 yards.
She's a rebel. She's
rebel
But
scum.
like the first day we watched Who's That Knocking at My Door, which was his like first film. It was like his graduate thesis project, along with Italian America, which is his documentary about his parents and how like he grew up and stuff. So I was curious, Johnny, if you like, this is something like, of course we can talk about later in an episode, but had you watched that when you were like doing research on
No,
him?
I just did because this was like 2004.
Yeah.
Like, shit like that wasn't easily available.
Yeah.
So, no, I didn't watch. I just watched. I started watching his, you know, mainstream films.
Yeah.
Mean Streets, Goodfellas, Red Bull, all that stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, I hadn't seen any of that stuff. I just knew, you know, I'd read about him. I'd, like, read articles and, like, gone back and, like, looked up stuff. And that was my introduction to Scorsese. And then I remember I watched Taxi Driver.
Yeah.
And that was the film where I was like, oh shit, like this is an artist. This is a person
that
who
has a point of view.
Movie.
Yeah.
This is not just a movie. It's something, and that's kind of what started me on the path of film appreciation, understanding it as an art form, the auteur theory, like all that stuff.
Yeah, that film also like changed my life too. Like when we watched that, like I had really taken this class because I needed an extra credit and I was interested in film. I was taking filmmaking classes and my friend was like, they have the Scorsese class, you should take it with me. Yeah. So I took it, we watched a couple like movies and we got to Taxi Driver in week 4 and I was just like, holy fuck.
That's crazy that they have a whole like curriculum on his films.
I did a whole semester on Scorsese, I did a summer on Fincher and Nolan, and those 2 classes like changed my perspective on filmmakers and like what film was.
It's interesting that you took that in college because I had the same experience, but when I was in high school.
Yeah.
Basically with the same directors
we
too.
We weren't offered those kind of things in my high school, and I wasn't interested in that. When I was in high school, I was pursuing architecture, and I didn't really like land on film until my freshman or my first semester at a community college. And I was like, oh, I forgot that I really loved editing when I was younger. And that kind of was like...
Well, and that's also when you started, like, getting into films and watching them, like, on your own, right?
Well, actually, it wasn't until I started taking the Scorsese classes when I really... Like with Taxi Driver, that's when I really started getting into film appreciation and, like, diving deep into it. And now it's, like, my passion and, like, my part-time job. Yeah. But, like... Before then, I was just like, oh,
Let's
I
be
really
honest,
like
it's
movies.
a full-time job. You have 2 full-time jobs.
No, let's not give her that much credit, right? Let's belittle her passions and her career choices to make us feel better about ourselves.
But, you know, I wanted to be a film editor. Like, that was kind of my thing. And then once I, like, started taking these film studies classes and Scorsese, that's when I was like, oh, I like analyzing the films and digging deeper into them more.
Yeah.
That's fun stuff.
Interesting.
On that note, though, I will say, this Irishman trailer.
Yes, that's kind of what we're here to talk about.
We are.
Right.
Yeah, we got a little bit off topic, so I'm bringing it back. But
19 minutes in.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I was a little, I'm not underwhelmed. I'm like interested in the, but it's not like, I don't know.
It wasn't like when I had watched the trailer for Wolf of Wall Street.
Yeah, exactly.
I
didn't have that anticipation.
Yeah,
that
I was
had
just
for
like,
that.
Is that because it's a Netflix movie? Because that is
it might
weird.
be.
Because now it's like, is it going to be released
It is.
theatrically?
It is going to be released.
It's
They're
a
gonna do
limited
like what they did with
theatrical
Roma.
run.
Yeah, they're going to do a theatrical run, and then they're going to put it on Netflix like a month later. They haven't announced dates yet.
Is that part of it? Because eventually it's going to be like disposable streaming experience?
No, I don't even think it's that. Because honestly, I forgot that it was even a Netflix thing.
Oh, Amy just laid a phone.
Sorry, I forgot that was on my lap.
Wow. I forgot it was even a Netflix thing until the end of the trailer when the Netflix logo popped up, and I was like, "Oh shit, that's right." I forgot he had.
Did you watch it on the Fandango trailers or like on a website? Because I saw it on the Netflix YouTube channel.
Yeah, I didn't watch. No, I watched it just on, I don't know, whatever fucking channel YouTube put it on that appeared in my news feed.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it was just whatever. And so I watched it, and I was like, it's a little underwhelming. I'm interested. I'm definitely gonna go see it. I'm always excited for a Martin Scorsese picture, except for Silence. Maybe I'm not actually. When I think about it, I'm like, because Silence looks so boring. Yeah. And I have read from reviews and other things that it's not great.
Yeah.
You know what's funny though? It's called The Irishman. De Niro is presumably the Irishman, and De Niro is of Irish descent. Mm-hmm. Which is because most people are like, oh, he's 100% Italian, and
because he's played Italians in literally anything he's done with Scorsese.
Yeah.
Which is why
outside The Untouchables. Yeah. I mean, he played Al Capone.
Yeah.
And that was great. If you haven't seen that
Vito
film.
Corleone.
Yeah.
Oh
classic.
God.
Are you guys ready to hate me a little more?
You don't like either of them.
I saw the first one and saw no reason to continue. But I like the third one.
Oh, you bastard! I know you're lying, but Jesus Christ, why would you do that?
My thoughts on this trailer, though, it's I'm excited for it only because it feels like Scorsese going back to his roots.
Like classic Scorsese.
Which is what I fell in love with.
Yeah.
Honestly, you know what's interesting? I'm not even interested in that aspect, although I do like it because I love Joe Pesci. Al Pacino and De Niro. Of course you want to see those two together. You know?
Always, yeah.
Always. My interest really in this film is the Jimmy Hoffa aspect of it.
Yeah, me too,
because
actually.
I find that story to be super interesting.
I don't know much about it, so I'm interested to kind of see his take on it.
I mean, he was like a
he was
labor
a union,
organizer.
He was a union
guy.
He was a teamster.
And then he
disappeared. He just
one of the enduring mysteries is
and
what
there was
happened to
always
Jimmy Hoffa.
and there's a great Simpsons joke about so the tall tale is that Jimmy Hoffa was buried under the old Giant Stadium.
Yeah, like at the 10-yard line or something.
The New York Giant Stadium, which I think is in New Jersey.
It is.
Yeah. And so there's a great Simpsons joke where they're watching TV and there's the Giants are playing and the guy catches the ball and he trips on the field and it's like a shape of a body. He just trips over it.
Yeah. Well, and there's the Mythbusters even did a whole episode.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah. To check out the bump. That's at the 10-yard line. I think it's 10-yard line, but it's somewhere.
Yeah, some tall tale.
And they went and scanned it and everything. But yeah. So, but what happened to Jimmy Hoffa? And so there's
that mystery angle.
So many jokes about I think there's in the first Eddie Murphy Nutty Professor there's that Dave Chappelle is making fun of fat Eddie Murphy. And he says something about I think I found Jimmy Hoffa in the guy's butt crack or something like that because he's just
I do so this is totally off topic, but Dave Chappelle's small role in the Nutty Professor, so goddamn funny.
Oh, he's hilarious.
He's
so good. I mean, and I remember really enjoying that film.
Yeah, I liked it. I sort of remember the first Nutty Professor. All I really remember is the Dave Chappelle bit.
It was Dave Chappelle. That was I think that was the first time I saw Dave Chappelle, and the second time I saw him was in Con Air, and he's great in that too.
The first time I saw Dave Chappelle was, this is off topic, Robin Hood Men in Tights.
Oh yeah, that's right. He was a Chew.
Yeah,
I forgot about that.
He's great.
Yeah, he was so great. I forgot he was in that. Yeah, me too. Then that would have been those two that were first for me.
Do you guys want to hear some of the rest of the cast of The Irishman that they did not put in the trailer?
Yeah, because they only put 3.
I saw Anna Paquin.
Anna Paquin, she plays Robert De Niro's wife. Jesse Plemons.
Oh, Fat Damon.
Harvey Keitel.
Of course. I love that.
Harvey Keitel in Who's That Knocking is my favorite.
Harvey Keitel is just
and Harvey Keitel in Taxi Driver is
fantastic. I mean, I'm saying Harvey Keitel just in general is an American treasure.
And Bobby Cannavale and Ray Romano.
Really?
Wow.
Ray Romano, I believe, plays Robert De Niro's lawyer.
I'm sorry, I can't get you off. You kill people.
Yeah.
My brother stole.
But yeah, so I think we've pretty much exhausted everything we can talk about with Scorsese
Until we do
a
his damn
Scorsese
movies.
episode.
Yeah.
So this is gonna be like a little bit different from our normal format, I think, because we're just gonna talk
This is your
about
idea, Amy.
yeah, we're just gonna talk about
Guide us.
Robin Williams, because I feel like he was a big part of most people's childhood.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like-
It's when you really like, because when you first mentioned this, I was like, he's not like, I'm like, I like Robin Williams, don't get me wrong.
Aladdin is like your favorite.
Aladdin is my
Disney
favorite
film.
Disney movie of all time.
Even more than Lion King.
Yeah. It goes Aladdin, then Lion King, then Beauty and the Beast.
Same. Actually, I would switch Lion King and Beauty and the Beast.
I can't rank them.
Little
But
Mermaid,
you said that, and then I started to think back, and I was like, oh shit, she's right. Like there was so many Robin Williams movies that like I kind of like grew up with, and it's a little bit like, so some of it's childhood, some of it's adolescence, and some of it's actually adulthood too.
Yeah.
Which I kind of want to touch on. But go ahead and.
So I made like a small list of movies that I knew I grew up with, and Joe kind of added to this, and I know some of it is the same as you.
Yeah.
And one of them we've already talked about, Ferngully.
Yeah.
So we don't really have to talk
But
too
I
much.
didn't see,
too much in depth in that.
'cause
That
I
was-
didn't see Ferngully. Like I only watched it like the one time in like high school, like a high school classroom.
Mm-hmm.
meeting.
Yeah.
So that was never one for me.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
That was a big one for me though. That and Aladdin.
Yeah.
Those were like
Aladdin was the huge one for sure.
Aladdin is also on this
Well,
list.
and he comes through so strongly. in
Yeah,
Aladdin. Like
well,
he's there. I
Batty-
mean, he's hard.
Yeah.
You cannot like mask Robin Williams' involvement
No.
in something. But the genie, he comes through
And
that
that-
Oh, yeah.
animation. I mean,
Absolutely.
he is that character in
Absolutely.
so many
And when
ways.
we talked about this in the Ferngully episode, Batty Coda was a prototype of the genie.
But I feel like, all right, so like when we did Ferngully, like in Ferngully, he's not Batty. The character is like inconsequential.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah,
Inconse-
he
is
like
that the right word?
Yeah, he is.
Yeah.
The movie
To like
doesn't
the film,
really
it doesn't
matter
really like
if you take him out.
Yeah,
of
exactly.
that.
Whereas Aladdin, he like embodies
it
that
wouldn't-
movie. It
yeah.
wouldn't be the same.
it
without
would not
him.
be a movie without Robin Williams as the genie,
Yeah.
which is only shown that in the new Aladdin remake.
That's
Like,
true. Yeah,
Yeah.
I never saw it.
You don't
You don't
get
want
the
to.
same.
yeah, I didn't want to.
You don't get the same like feeling.
Yeah.
And like without having Robin Williams there.
Which is funny because if you really think about it, yes, so much of the energy and the charisma and the creativity comes through just in his voice work. But so much of the genie is how he was animated. But it
Yeah.
kind of feels like everything that he was doing in the booth was influencing that animation. I don't know if he was like
I've actually
juggle.
I've
you know?
seen. So I
yeah.
had one of my most coveted DVDs when I was still collecting DVDs.
Yeah.
I mean, I collect Blu-rays now, but
You know they added Aladdin to the signature collection, by the way.
what's that mean?
It's like when they do like a nice, beautiful little re-release
Well, I have the
of
one.
Blu-ray.
Interestingly enough, I have the like a diamond edition of
That's what I have too.
of Aladdin. I love that movie. In the DVD, I watched a shit ton of the special features, and it's got recordings of
Yeah.
Williams doing the lines, and he is just like being
all over.
Oh, yeah.
being everything you think Robin Williams to be.
Right,
You know,
right.
like at one point they just like they have like a table full of items, and then they like lift like the sheet off the table, and he just riffs
Yeah.
on the items. And I think it's
Yeah.
like for one of the scenes because he plays the genie, but he also plays the peddler.
Yes.
At the very beginning. It's
At the
like,
very beginning, yeah.
Famous Dead Sea Tupperware. Still good.
It's
Yeah.
still good.
It will not break.
It
Yeah.
But
it
you know
broke.
how long it took me to realize that was him?
Well, not
Until
only,
I was in my teens.
I'm gonna maybe blow your mind. You notice that he only has 3 fingers, like the genie.
Yeah,
the only
there
human
is
character that's
Tail
got
that
3
he's
Yeah.
like- yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, he was just as animated as he is in the movie. you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, because I could just see
Well-
him like, if anybody was a human cartoon character, it was Robin Williams.
Oh,
And, like the bit where
absolutely.
he's like, exits are here.
here.
He's like all those arms, and like
Yeah.
I could see him doing that. You know.
Yeah. Well, and then it's like they try to redo that with Will Smith, and it's
Yeah.
like, why?
Yeah.
It reduces the magic of it.
And it takes away from Will Smith, too, because he's got his own charisma, but it's not that.
Yeah,
he doesn't do that.
No, because he's, it feels like they're trying to have him be Robin Williams.
He's trying to match that energy.
But he's like Robin Williams.
But he's got a different energy. He's got Will Smith energy.
He's not doing the Will Smith energy. I feel like he's
trying to do Robin Williams.
Yeah. Which is what takes away
Which is detrimental to the story.
Because only Robin Williams could do Robin Williams.
Pretty much, yeah.
And it's funny that you should talk about, like, him riffing on the items and just going nuts. I don't know if you two ever watched Mork and Mindy, but that was a TV show that I grew up watching, and that was kind of his first big thing.
Yeah,
that's where he like broke out, right?
It was like he was doing like a lot of stand up stuff, and he was coming up in like the stand up comedy circuit. There was an episode of Happy Days in which an alien comes to Earth and does some shit, and it's Mork. And so Mork and Mindy is a spin-off of Happy Days. And Mork and Mindy's a great show. It's very funny. But there were whole sections of the script that were just blank pages. And all it was on there was, Robin can go crazy here. Like, Robin can go nuts. And they would just let him go. And then they would keep what they could, and that would be in the show. Mm-hmm. And that was, and like, they knew what they had, and they let him do it.
Yeah.
You know?
He had a very specific energy that was solely him that I've not seen in a performer like since, really.
Or
ever. It was uniquely him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Which I think is why it made him so special and why he's so beloved by so many people is because of this like specific energy that you can't find anywhere else.
True. It's true.
I mean, so rapid fire, so goddamn smart.
Yeah, which leads me kind of in like I'm sorry to interrupt, but like that leads me in, and plus like you talking about him riffing on the items on the table. Mm-hmm. One of my favorite movies of his, and it's even more like than Aladdin, like just my favorite performance of his is Mrs. Doubtfire. Mm-hmm. I absolutely love him in Mrs. Doubtfire, and that opening scene where he's voicing the bird.
Where is he doing like multiple characters?
No, I think he's just doing the bird.
Yeah.
And he ends up getting fired because he just keeps riffing, and he like does this whole like don't smoke kind of thing because the bird starts smoking.
Yeah, because he's like, you're killing me.
And it's like the animation is like totally off of what he's saying.
Yeah.
And that just like I was like, that is Robin Williams just being himself on screen.
Yeah.
And I was just like,
I
love it.
Even just that bit where when he takes I think it's like a grapefruit and something, he chucks it, hits Brosnan in the back of the head. He's like, oh dear, it was a run by fruiting. You know, like I'm sure they didn't have that written. I think he just probably did that.
I want to see a script, like the shooting script of any movie that he's ever done, and see how much they have blocked out for him to just be himself.
Or how much he was like, no, I got this. It'll be better. Trust me. Yeah. You know, and then he says his own thing.
Yeah.
You know.
Or like he does, like I don't know how much he would do, like what is written in the script. I feel like he would. But then like they would do a second take for him to just go crazy.
I have a feeling, and I don't know this for sure, but I have a feeling that even though he had the crazy energy, even though he was so on, I have a feeling that he was still a pro in the sense that he would do what you needed to get the scene that you needed to get, but then he gave you just a ton more on top of it.
Because he also did some like serious movies where like they didn't have room for him to
I was actually going to bring that up.
I was
because you know, on your list I think we have Mrs. Doubtfire, Aladdin, Fern Gully, Hook, Jumanji,
Death to
Smoochie. And Death to Smoochie is kind of one of the nice things I think about Robin Williams for me is, you know, as a little kid I watched those more kid films and I loved Robin Williams. But then as a grown man, I was able to continue to like grow and appreciate Robin Williams.
Absolutely. I totally agree. Yeah.
His stand-up stuff is very adult and very dirty and hilarious,
dirty, but
it's not what you'd expect from this beloved sort of child star icon in a way. And so you've got Death to Smoochie. You have The Fisher King, which Jeff Bridges and
The Fisher King is pretty good.
Fisher King's really good, and he's great in it. And he is Robin Williams, but he's also so sad and damaged.
Good Will Hunting, though.
Good Will Hunting.
That's
is amazing. That like the you know the story he tells about his wife.
Yeah,
you know,
it's so like good. And he's able to be funny in that movie, but also just heartbreakingly just like honest and brutal and just like. god damn, like you just love this man.
And then you look at him in a movie like Insomnia, which is, I think, often overlooked and forgotten in Christopher Nolan's sort of pantheon of films.
I think that's the only Christopher Nolan movie I haven't seen.
It's very, I mean, it feels like a Nolan film, but it is different. And he's brilliant in that, too. And he's not the Robin Williams that you would expect when you see Robin Williams in a movie. And then he would also do, like, 1 Hour Photo, again, sort of that same sort of, like, stripped down, damaged, quiet character.
Yeah, just raw.
And so, there were these depths that you could appreciate in Robin Williams in everything that he did.
Oh, absolutely. One of my favorite Robin Williams bits actually is from Louis C.K.'s TV show Louis. Which I know, everyone's
we're not allowed to enjoy that anymore.
Yeah. It is, I can see there's problematic natures to it, but there's an episode where basically Louis is going to a funeral for a guy that he hates, but he knows that no one's going to be at this funeral, and the thought of that scares him, so he goes. And when he goes, the only other person there is Robin Williams. And it's him and Robin Williams, and they both, they try to act nice, and they're like, oh, how'd you know this person, and da-da-da-da. And they both kind of come to the conclusion where they're just like, oh, I hated this guy. This guy was a piece of shit. Fuck this guy. Everyone, but they're like, we needed to be there because death is scary. Yeah. And the whole thing is about death. But it ultimately culminates with them going to the dead guy's favorite strip club, and they tell one of the strippers that he died, and everyone in the strip club is sad. It becomes like the DJ's like, we have to play this, like, we just found out this really sad news. This guy died, and everyone's just like crying. And it's just so sad. And then they're just like looking around like, oh shit. And then they walk out. Yeah, they walk out of the strip club and then just start laughing. They just start laughing. It's Louis C.K. and Robin Williams. They're laughing over this absolutely ridiculous experience that they just experienced. And the bit at the end, I love this bit, where he's just like, oh, they're like talking to each other, and Robin Williams like, if I go. And he's like, oh, yeah, I'll be at your funeral. And he's like, all right. He's like, and Louis C.K.'s like, oh, if I die. Like, he's like, yeah, I'll be there too. Yeah. And so it's just like that acknowledgement of the both of them, like, because they both talk about how scared they are of nobody being at their funeral when they die. Yeah. And it's an interesting thing to look back on, especially now that he has passed. It's just like, fuck, like, that kind of level of introspection, I feel, with him specifically was... pretty special. Yeah. What's the film where he's like he's a kid, but he's an adult? Jack. Yeah. I love that movie. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I remember it came out, I think, near to my birthday or something, and it was like for my birthday we were gonna like all go see it, and then somebody was like, oh, that movie's sad, you may not want to go see that for your birthday. And I was like, oh, okay.
I think I remember like seeing it on TV, and then I was just like, oh, it's Robin Williams. And then I started watching, I was like, oh, this is sad. And then I turned it off.
Yeah, it would have been like Patch Adams, remember that one too? I seem to oh wait a minute, didn't he do a movie? It was called Awakening. I think it was Robin Williams and Robert De Niro. And
Awakenings, yes.
Yeah, Awakenings, and I remember that. And it was a movie that I remember my mom watching a number of times.
De Niro was in it. Speaking of De Niro,
I know, that's what I said. So I brought it up, and I remember there's a bit from it where like they're going, this patient that's been in a coma for forever, is like. All the doctors are racing down the hall to like go like check it out and see him, and Robin Williams is like, where are my glasses? And they're like, they're on your face. Oh, all right. And I just and then at the time I was little, I was like, I don't get it, but as a glasses wearer, you forget that they're on there, and you're like, where are my glasses? And it's like, oh wait, I can see, they're on my face.
Yeah.
Like because I can see, I should know this. Yeah. But yeah, no, the kind of introspection, there was a vulnerability to Robin Williams, even in something like Jumanji, that bit when he realizes that he's been gone for so long, everybody's gone, and how much he like that bit when it's stuck. It's always stuck with me. He says, 30 years in the deepest, darkest jungle, and I still turned out to be my dad.
Yeah. Oof.
That's
rough. That cuts rough.
Because
it's like a terrifying moment because he starts yelling at the kid. And he just like pauses. I'm just like, because like you're terrified of him at that moment. You're like, oh shit.
Yeah.
It's like he's such a multifaceted person.
Yeah. He was definitely like, he's a special person.
Yeah. And like if you look at like Death to Smoochie, which Amy, you just watched for the first time, right? I just watched for the first
time for this episode.
And that was I remember when that came out, it was 2002, so I was 16, 17, depending on when it came out. And I remember that as being one of the first examples of like a straight up R-rated comedy that I saw and really appreciated, you know? And he would be so unlikable and despicable if he wasn't Robin Williams.
Oh, yeah.
Because he can be hilariously despicable instead.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's like all of the gags, like when he falls down the stairs and like hits that brick wall, and he like keeps getting hit in the face.
Yeah.
I'm like, anybody else does that, it probably wouldn't be as funny because the person playing him probably wouldn't be as despicable.
Yeah.
Like in such a comedic way.
Yeah. But over the course of that movie, you've seen it.
I have seen parts of it. I have not seen the entire
thing. The character goes on a journey. Rainbow Randolph goes on a journey.
Oh, yeah.
And by the end of the movie, you're still with him.
Yeah.
You know? But there's even like a bit where he runs over because he's trying to like frame Edward Norton's character. Yeah. And so there's a bit when he leans down into this baby basket and he goes, "Hey, little nipple nibbler, the rhino's a Nazi." Yeah. And then like leaps away.
And then he like starts dancing on the benches.
Yeah.
And this like huge like coat in like the middle of New York City.
Yeah. Well, wait, by this point he's stolen his Rainbow Randolph coat back, I think, and I think he's wearing.
Yeah. Oh yes. Yeah. That was when he was pouring the gas on himself.
Yeah.
Outside, and then the little girl comes up and he goes, Rainbow Randolph, it's okay. And then someone goes, "Look, it's Smoochie!"
Yeah.
And then everyone runs over there, and you see him like sitting on the bench, kind of dejected and
covered in gas,
as like. Smoochie puts a rhino hat on the little girl and like pats her on the head.
Yeah. Oh man.
And then gets into his limo and drives off.
And it's so good. And like that bit when he picks him up and he's talking like this, like he's supposed to be Scottish, and then he gets into an Australian accent, and it just keeps shifting as he's talking, you know. And it's
and it keeps having this like the cinematography in that film is really great, especially in that scene where they're driving to the Nazi thing, and it's like really close up on his face, and then it like cuts to a wider shot, and you see Edward Norton like peep out behind him. Then it cuts into a closer shot of Robin Williams' face, but you still see Edward Norton in the back there. Yeah. But like Robin Williams' eye is just like like one eye is like swollen and closed.
Yeah.
And
it's a really I think you'd really like it.
I remember when it came out and I wanted to see it, and then I just never got around to it.
Yeah.
Another a film that I recently watched within the past year for the 1001 challenge is and something that I think is like also really quintessential Robin Williams is Good Morning Vietnam.
Oh,
that's not on my list, but I'm like looking at his.
Welcome to the demilitarized zone.
Yeah, and it's like that whole scene. Like it's been a year since I've watched it at least.
That was a movie that my mom watched when I was little, growing up, and I didn't really fully get it, you know. Yeah.
But there's like this scene where he's just like going rogue and like throwing papers around the like radio station and like he went crazy. But then there's also like some of the really great serious moments that you get from Robin Williams in that as well. Yeah. What are some other movies that like we haven't really talked about Hook or Jumanji a whole lot,
right? I mean,
because like they could be on the list.
Those were fun movies that I remember watching, but like neither one of them like really like impacted me as much as like something say like Aladdin or Good Will Hunting or like, you know.
I remember, and this is, I think it's a testament to Robin Williams, and I think it's also a testament to both how Spielberg and was it Dean Cundey who did. I think it was Dean Cundey who did who DP'd Hook. Is that right?
Hold on. I went to Jumanji because I thought that's where you were going.
Oh, sorry.
You gotta anticipate it, Amy. Jesus.
I need to be anticipated.
You gotta.
Dean Cundey, yes.
Yeah. So the way Spielberg and Dean Cundey shot it, the way Williams scored it, but that scene when he's in the treehouse and he's remembering and he finds the teddy bear, you know, and he finds his happy thought, and then he realizes he's like flying, and he's like, oh, and then he like stops, and then he like takes off through the tree, and he's and there's something, and I believed him. You know, I think maybe Robin Williams and Christopher Reeve are the only two people that I actually believed in film could fly. You know what I mean?
I think it's also
not
like,
Neo. Come on.
Like in that film, he goes from like serious businessman to like once he kind of like reverts to like the like a thing that stuck with me and probably a lot of kids is the like food fight scene. After that, he reverts to like this childlike innocence almost that like I feel like only Robin Williams could have achieved also. And it's like I think that's another moment where it's like he was like so happy he could fly. And
I believe, and that's so great, you know, when he's like, when he gets there and he sees all the lost boys doing all the crazy shit, and he's like, that is so dangerous. But then the little boy comes out of the crowd, you know, and like one of my favorite scenes, and he like, you know, looks all over his face, and then he finds that one bit, and he goes, is that you, Peter? You know, and it's and Robin Williams is, and that's the thing, is for all of the times that Robin Williams could riff, I mean, that he could just go forever, but the scenes when he's quiet, you know, when those moments are drawn out the way they ought to be, you know, that's just as impressive in what he was able to do with those quiet scenes like that, you know.
Like Jumanji is another movie that like that film stuck with me a lot because the first time I watched it, I was, I don't know, what year did that come out?
94, 95.
And so I was like, I think the first time I watched it, I wasn't like 5. I didn't watch it when it first came out. I was like maybe a little bit older, like 8 possibly. And it scared me. And I could not watch it again until I was like in high school.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. It's a series of vicious animal attacks. I really love that movie.
Yeah, I think it's like, it's even like the beginning when you hear the drum beat, like you see them like trying to bury the box and you hear that drum beat.
I forgot about that.
And then it's like the way they build it up when after he gets beat up by these kids and he's at the construction site and he like hears the drum beat and I'm just like, you feel that dread. Like I feel that dread even when I watch this movie 100 times. And like the same with Hook. Like I've watched these movies hundreds of times.
Well, and like I said, the bit about the dad always gets me in Jumanji because we do always become our parents, no matter how much you try not to be. But you know, there's just, you know, these wonderful bits too. You know, like when he walks into the bathroom, he sees a toilet paper, and he goes, no more banana leaves. You know? And you know, in that movie it's interesting because you get to see when Alan Parrish comes back, you get to see Robin Williams still being a kid. Even though he's got this big bushy beard and everything.
He's like a grown-ass man, but he's still a child inside.
And then as soon as he shaves and everything and he's wearing like the clothes that he finds, he's more of a grown-up. You know? And there's actually, you know, there's another line in there. I mean, it's a nothing line, but that bit when he says to Bonnie Hunt, it's like, oh, it's okay, just give me the dice and you can go. And then she gives it to him and he moves his hand and they drop, and then he goes, sorry, Sarah, law of the jungle. You know? and I say that to Sarah all the time, to my Sarah. You know, like something happens, I'm like, law of the jungle, Sarah.
That's pretty great.
Yeah.
Any final thoughts before we wrap this up?
I remember when he died. I
was actually here at Chow Factory.
Really?
Were you?
I was still not an intern. I was a temp. And I was I was up in the digital loft in the old building, and I was working next to another temp guy. His name was Greg, and he was like, Robin Williams just died. And I was like, what? It's like, what the fuck are you talking about? And he was like, no, Robin Williams just died. Like, he was like shocked. And then I was like shocked. And then I had to look it up. And then it went around like the whole little annex really quickly. Like, oh, Robin Williams died. And it was like a huge thing. Like, everyone was just like in shock. Really. And then you're just like, wait, what? It's how he died. It's like, oh, it was suicide. And you're just like, holy shit. Like, I've never been in a place where we work at a place where everyone here loves film. Like everyone here, everyone here is a big admirer and appreciator and loves film. And if you love film, you love Robin Williams. I mean, those two are like, they go together, really. And so it was like a shock, and it was interesting to just see everybody like realizing it at the same time, kind of having the same emotions, really.
Yeah.
Because you're like, even though you never met him, even though like you know nobody like knew him personally, but like he was such a big part of people's lives because of these films that he made, because of who he was as a person. Like to find out the news, it was shocking, and it was a really down day, and I remember it clearly. I remember it like that.
It was like right after I had graduated, because it was 2014. So I think I remember coming home from the retail job I was working. And like just like this is back when I would like literally go through my entire timeline of Twitter from the night before until that current moment, and I like remember scrolling past like a picture of him. I was like, oh, what's this? And I like scrolled back down and I clicked it. And I'm like, holy shit! Like I just like stopped everything, and I think I started crying. And my mom came in and she's like, what's wrong? I'm like, Robin Williams just like he passed away. And we both kind of just like sat there in silence for a while. And then I only had his movies on VHS. So I had I think I watched Ferngully, Jumanji, and Aladdin. And I think I did end up watching Return of Jafar, even though he's not technically in that. And the third one. King of Thieves. I said Return of the King, but that's
a different movie.
That's Lord of the Rings. I just had like for the rest of the evening, because I didn't have to work the next day, I just like watched Robin Williams movies. Any Robin Williams movie that I had for hours. I think I stayed up until like 4 a.m. just watching his movies.
I found my Facebook post actually, and I posted a picture of him as Rainbow Randolph, and I just said it just feels like the world is a little less funny.
And it was.
It was.
And it still is.
Yeah.
I think it's a good note to leave it on.
Yeah.
The world is a little less funny without this amazing man.
Indeed.
But I'm not even going to do my regular sign off. You guys, just be kind and rewind.
Thanks everybody.